Hello and welcome everybody to the round, what are we, 13, 14 now of the IFL Formula 2 Championship here. We are racing today at Suzuka, and right now we're currently 5 minutes into qualifying on a beautiful day here in Japan. Eli, how's it looking down there?
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a great race day. The track's at a nice temperature today, which is good because this track is traditionally very brutal on tires anyway, just given the track surface. So really hopeful that we'll be able to contain the temperatures and keep the track at a nice drivable temperature for the drivers. Already loading up the track with all of our drivers from the league, and got a good mix of folks out there making their laps already.
Yep, yeah, we have seven current times that are up on the board. You can see a few people coming into the pits, a few people going out for their out lap again, get another run. And right now we're on Alex Chong, who had set one of the faster pace laps in practice, and it's looking like he's not going to be the fastest right now, according to his split times on the bottom of the screen. We have Lauren Tilsley looking good on her lap here too.
As is Grabowski, we saw a really great performance from him last race, and hoping to see another one this time. Also really excited to see Bowman back in the race today. He did have some technical issues last week with some of his driver equipment in his sim, so we'll see if he's back in good standing this week.
Yep, yeah, Bowman, unfortunate to see him with those technical difficulties, but we're glad to have him this week. He is a really quick driver around the track, and he'll add a very much needed competition for the other drivers out there. And Chong goes up to third, Gutnick in second for the two Lumos guys. We can see Baukamp out on his outlap, and we have Chris Byram. Just took the top spot as of right now, just came across the line. We have Daniel Thomas coming down the straight, followed by, looks like, Louis Cologne or Cristiano Schegetman, and that would be Schegetman right behind him. So no improvement for Thomas. Looks like he just finished his out lap. And Schegetman doesn't get any improvement. He must have had an off lap because that lap did not count. We have Bunting coming down the straight as well, running a 147.279. That will not get it done for the top few spots there.
That's right. It is already looking pretty good. Our top 8 are about a second apart from each other, which is a pretty tight field. It should be a very good race today, Alex. Very excited to see this shaping up the way that it is.
Yep, yeah, this track is one of those tracks that everybody seems to know. It's Suzuka, it's Japanese Grand Prix, and everybody is always really thrilled to see this track being raced in real life. And obviously in iRacing here for us, we love this track. It's one of those traditional ones that really, like you said, has a little bit of a reputation of eating up tires. The asphalt's fairly rough here, so it's going to be a task for these drivers, but it's always fun. Being such a popular track, though, everybody knows it, and everybody, Lauren Tilsley going off track a bit, might have a little floor damage there.
That was a significant collision there, so yeah, she'll definitely have some damage from that one.
Yep. As we see Byram coming across, Tilsley currently has the pole time. Can't quite close the gap there is Chris Byram, and he loses his rear end going into turn 1. And this is a crucial turn 1. This is one of the most fun first turns and sectors in all of Grand Prix racing. So I believe Sebastian Vettel had said that this is his favorite sector of racing in all of his Formula One career.
That's an interesting fact. It's a track that's actually loved across the board by almost all of the F1 grid that we see racing in the modern F1 series. And I think that many of our drivers also appreciate it. This track has seen Super GT racing over the years. It used to host MotoGP until a fatality injury caused that to not be hosted here anymore. And the track itself has just been around for a long time, Alex. It was initially opened in 1962 as a Honda test track. It's one of the oldest remaining tracks in F1. Has been on the site of the Japanese Grand Prix since 1987, with a few years not on the schedule for a variety of reasons. Interestingly, the track's seen 5 different GP layouts, with the current one being in place for about 5 years now. Another really interesting thing about this track is that it's really as one of the oldest tracks, like you were saying, the pavement here is really much like the older tracks, and so it is a little bit harsher on these tires. On hotter days, this can cause to extreme tire wear. Over the course of this week, even, I've heard rumors amongst the drivers of potentially trying a 2-pit strategy. We'll see if anybody does that today. I think it might be a death sentence, but who knows?
Yeah, these F3.5 cars that we run in our F2 division, they don't quite last the entire race for tires. You have to do your one stop for sure, as in the rule book. But even if you weren't in the rule book, I think you would be slower if you tried to go a full race on them. But tracks like this that just eat up the tires, you think about that two-stop strategy, and how much am I going to gain per lap, and is it going to be worth that calculation of how many seconds am I going to gain if I have fresh tires for the last 20 laps, or how many seconds am I going to lose? There's a lot of calculation that goes into it to see, is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be even? Is it going to give me more control? It is a big thing here too, because not only is it fast and slow, as we see Lewis Archer there lock up, is it going to be a controlled lap every single time in and time out? It's a lot that goes into the strategy of these cars, so we'll see if anybody does try it. And sometimes there's just that little bit of damage you get that kind of forces you to take a pit. So that could be a big thing, as we've seen a lot of our drivers in the practice here and throughout the week having a hard time getting around quickly on the harder, more intricate turns of Suzuka here.
That's right. This might be one race where the drivers are actually looking forward to an early safety car, because it could give them the opportunity to switch their tires out early without suffering much of a penalty, or really losing much position on track.
We have a lot of purple there on Lewis Archer's board. Let's see. And it doesn't seem that his lap counted. As much purple as is on the board, it doesn't matter if you go off the track. So let's see, his teammate Chris Byram has a purple first sector, and we'll be coming up to the last chicane here. He'll hit that very well. You don't want to get too much of that curb. And he has a good exit. And that moves him up into first place over his sister team, Lauren Tilsley, which I believe is coming down the straight here. And Grabowski had grabbed that second place coming down the straight. So we see Gutnick coming up. He's on his outlap. Chong also on an outlap for the Lumos guys. As we sit watching Lauren Tilsley here, she's on her outlap. A lot of outlaps happening. We're about halfway through our qualifying section of the session, and we still have about 12 minutes left for these drivers to get right across that line. And as long as they get across that line before that 25 minutes, they still have at least 2 minutes or one lap to try and improve their time, or try and get a little bit better tire grip or something. And we see Lewis is going to stop and get off the track there. He's just not feeling how that setup is going, and right now he's the only one without a time, which is scary for the Lumo or the CUDA guys, because if Lewis Archer is having a hard time keeping it within track limits, what's it going to do for the rest of the guys in that CUDA garage, and for the sister teams, because they work hand in hand all week to run a setup, get a setup tuned in, and if it's uncontrollable, well, then that setup might be fast, but if it's uncontrollable, it's not drivable. How are you going to go ahead and try and push for a win, which we know Lewis Archer is always doing?
That's right. As the championship, most likely championship contender here, he's going to be the one that's going to be hurting most if he can't set a qualifying time. And we've seen it time and time again too, Alex. Consistency is king on these tracks. Consistency will get you to the end of the race. That gets you the win. If you can't keep it on track, like you're saying, there's no win coming your way.
Yep. Yeah, we see Gutnick go off track just a little bit, trying to push that last chicane as far as he can, and his time will not count either. It's a very technical track here, and it's, there are so many things that can go wrong at so many times, and just like we see right there, Gutnick pirouetting, no damage it looks like, but looks like he's going to reset and try and do another run. And we'll watch his teammate, Alex Chong, running the white and gold of the Lumos car. You can see him trying to warm his tires there. Warming those tires will get you a lot when it comes to the qualifying. Your qualifying lap, it just allows your car to grip the ground a lot better and get a hold of that asphalt. When your cold tires, they just want to slide across that surface when it's hot.
That's right. The tire temperature is key in order to maximize grip, in order to be able to rotate this car through these turns the way that the driver intends it. You want to be able to point it exactly where you want it, and that is only possible when these tires are up to temperature and operating at full grip. Yep,
you'll see a load of understeer in the sectors that have a little bit more turn in. So at Suzuka, it's the middle sectors that you have a lot of turn in that you need, and then this last turn here. But in that middle sector, you start to struggle because you don't have the heat in the tires. You'll see that understeer will cause a lot of drivers to go wide, catch a little bit more grass than they want, and it'll cause them to hit the wall or catch a little bit too much of the curb and spin, as we've seen a couple of these guys do in turn 1.
Correct. Early on, you're going to have a very similar amount of longitudinal grip, which means you'll be able to brake similarly, maybe a little bit earlier than you would during the race stint. But your lateral grip will suffer quite a bit if those tire temperatures aren't up where they need to be. So what we'll typically see drivers doing early on in a stint is braking just a little bit early in order to get their speed down so that they can make use of all available grip, which is just a little bit less during these early laps.
Yep, yeah, and on top of it, not just are the tires under temperature, but we also have the brakes that need to be warmed up and need to really get up to temp. As we see Lewis Archer finally posts the time, and it's a 1:43.9, putting him up into 4th. So we have Lauren Tilsley, Chris Byram, Steve Grabowski, Lewis Archer, Alex Gutnick, Louis Cologne, Alex Chong, Ivan Baukamp, Daniel Thomas, Ben Bowman, Steve Bunting, Eric Beddoes, Nick Marshall, and Cristiano Schegetman. That is our field as of right now. And these drivers are really giving a good push here. They still have 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes to get across the line one more time. And we see Lewis goes a little bit wide again. Goes off track, hits the wall. He's going to have to reset and try and get another run through the field.
Well, it's just hard for these drivers today. We're watching one after another go off track. Thankfully, if we do see this during the race, I'm hoping that we won't see quite so many issues getting into the pit. That was one of the major problems that we had with the last race, is just drivers not being able to make that pit entry and causing themselves some significant time delays via penalties.
Yep, yeah, we saw Lewis not be able to get into the pit cleanly. All the hours and time that these drivers put into the week for trying to get their lap times down and trying to improve on their stability of the car, work on the car setup. And the one thing that both CUDA guys had forgotten were practicing that pit entry, making sure that's effective, because that one was a little bit of a struggle for some drivers. We even saw in F3 a couple drivers had the same thing where they got that same 40-second penalty just for coming into the pits a little aggressively and they would cut over. There's a little, it's essentially a chicane at Twin Ring, and it really hurt a lot of drivers. 40 seconds, lost Lewis the race, it lost Chris the race, and it opened it up for Ivan and Steve Grabowski to battle it out for the win. But it was really, really just something to see. So hopefully these guys have practiced their pit stop strategy this week and have really got that down. It's a very simple pit. It's out of the last chicane. We'll see here at the end of this dogleg left for Chris Byram. And then we have our chicane at the end of this straight. And right after that chicane, the pit entry is on the right. And it's a straight pit entry. You can see it off here on the right. Right there, going down the straight. It's very straight. Pit wall's right there, and then you come into your pit lane and your tires, and then it's a straight pit entry and exit. So these drivers should be able to find that fairly easily. Most drivers are familiar with it, unlike the one from last week.
These drivers have time for about 3 more laps here, Alex. Do you think any of them are going to be able to move up in the standings board?
So I think we have the potential for it to happen. Gutnick runs a 144 flat. I think some of the Lumos and Turning Point guys have the ability to get up there with those CUDA drivers. It's just going to be a matter of, can they get that lap clean and get it 100% push, or are they going to slip off the track and push it too far? It's crunch time right now. We want these drivers to be as competitive as they can and push as hard as they can. Ooh, as we see Byram lock it up there.
You got to wonder at this point too, are these continuous off tracks starting to make these drivers nervous? Do you think they'll modulate their first few laps here to get these tires warmed up and make sure that they're going to be able to stick it out the first couple laps of the race? Because I mean, truly, they're off the track pretty frequently here. This is looking pretty brutal today. Yep,
and we know that once you get on track, like you're saying, you modulate and kind of keep track of, where are you going off the track a lot in qualifying? Where am I pushing too hard? You do it in qualifying because worst case, you just qualify a little bit lower. In the race, worst case is you're no longer in the race. You are out, you're not getting points, your team is suffering because of it. So when it comes to kind of toning it back, there is a little bit of that. You push every lap as much as you can, but you also don't want to push it too much and have something, go wrong and then you're just out of the race completely, because that's when you really tell yourself, okay, I messed up. And then you come out the next race and you try and adjust for the long. It's a long race. It's not a sprint. Ooh, as we see a little bit of off track from one of the Lumos guys. Looks like that is Alex Chong. A little bit of interference there with Lauren Tilsley. Chong is back on track with Archer right behind him. Unfortunate there. He lost it. Looks like going into the S's. And just was sliding through the grass there, and it threw Lauren Tilsley's trajectory off. Made her break up a little bit. We haven't talked about Daniel Thomas a whole lot. He is one of those CUDA drivers that really hasn't had his breakout quite yet. He is a really talented driver. Just seems to find the bad luck each week. As we see him jump up to 6th place. As I say, he finds bad luck. He finds a little bit of luck and jumps up about 4 spots on the board.
Yeah, I mean, as with many, all these drivers, really, they're all very good drivers, and it does take a little bit of luck out there, and the bad luck definitely reaches out for people at times, and we've seen that week over week with Grabowski. We saw it with Byram early on in the season, just, some really bad luck hitting those guys, but race over race, they're still performing, they're still scoring points, and even last week we saw Grabowski really have a good race.
Yep, yeah, Grabowski with the win last week. Just great run, and he's had such bad luck week in and week out, and he always seems to find the back end of somebody with the front fender of his car. So finding a win really can turn your luck around and get you right back on the path of starting to compete for a championship, rather than finding a car in the field and having a bump with them each week. That gets old really fast as a driver. You feel like you're just stuck in a rut when that luck is just not going your way. So we're glad to see Grabowski with a big win last week at Twin Ring, but we're currently looking at Lauren Tilsley as our pole sitter. Nobody else that comes across the line will be able to put in a qualifying lap. So these laps right here that we're seeing from Archer, Chong, Bunting, Gutnick, they're all going to be the final lap.
Great to see Gutnick up there in the top 5. That's awesome to see a Lumos car performing so well today. Should be exciting racing.
Yeah, Gutnick is always a good racer out on track. He's not always the fastest in qualifying, but he has great racecraft. He karts in real life, just like a few of these other guys. Daniel Thomas is one of those that does kart in real life. So they have that racecraft from doing that, and they know how to race in a field of 30, 40 drivers, and how to maneuver around people, how to take advantage of a mistake. So qualifying pace is one thing. You have, after that qualifying pace, all that racecraft and that strategy that also come into play with these drivers. So a strategy can win you a race if everybody's not careful and doesn't try and combat a strategy, even if you're not the fastest car on track. So we'll see if these Lumos guys can put a damper on the CUDA celebrations that we had last week. And our Turning Point guys, we have Louis Cologne sitting in 7th. He is right there as well with the ability to upset these CUDA drivers.
That's right, and we've seen him do it before. I mean, always a consistently good driver, very fast, very competitive. He's able to make the overtake when he needs to, and he can be very patient as well. Waiting lap after lap to do it. Well, we're through qualifying now. How do we end up, Alex?
All right, so let's pull up our qualifying results. We have Lauren Tilsley is our pole sitter. She's gotten a couple of these this season, so not her first, but great effort from Chris Byram and Lewis Archer, both within about a tenth of a second. That rounds out our podium pole sitters. Stephen Grabowski in 4th, about 3/10 behind. Alex Gutnick in 5th, about 4/10 behind. Then we have Daniel Thomas coming up in 6th. Louis Cologne 7th. Ivan Baukamp in 8th. Alex Chong in 9th. Ben Bowman sitting in 10th. Cristiano Schegetman in 11th. Steve Bunting in 12th. Nick Marshall in 13th. And Eric Beddoes in 14th. With about 4 seconds of time in between him and the pole sitter. What do you think about our starting grid here, Eli?
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of competition up front. I'm really interested to see what will happen at turn 1. We've already seen that the grip levels are pretty low on those first few laps, so it should be pretty exciting out of the gate here. Really looking to see how these people manage their tires, especially over the first half of this race. And I'm really excited to see if anybody does take advantage of a two-stop strategy today. Although, boy, what an interesting risk that would be. So we'll see what happens, Alex. Yep. We'll see what happens.
Yep, and I think it'll all depend on safety car. If somebody gets a lucky safety car and can, catch up to the field when they were a little bit behind, if you're in the middle of the field, you might as well take the risk and take take that chance, because you're chancing, middle of the field, you might be risking, 5-6 points. Instead, you can take that chance with potentially just having a faster car than everybody else just because of your strategy and getting those extra tires. And that could be the extra thing that pushes you to be able to surpass the rest of the field again on the start. Get back up to where those leaders are and start running times where those leaders are that have those worn tires. So you never know. It'll all depend on our flags, and I think the You know, who's willing to take that risk? Who in the standings has the ability to say, hey, you know, I'm racing, kind of like what we see out of Ferrari and McLaren. You know, I'm going to take a risk because I can, whereas like the Red Bull and Mercedes guys in real life really can't. They need to make sure they're going to be where they're at, and their expectations are set, so they are a little more cautious, a little more safe. So we could see our McLaren and Ferraris in the Lumos and Turning Point guys trying to take that risk to propel them to a victory today.
That's right, and it is going to be a much more risky strategy for the CUDA guys to do that today. So we'll see. It's probably, if anybody, it is probably going to be one of our, you know, 4th, 5th place teams. Some of the drivers that are probably down in your 5th and 6th place standings that would be willing to take that step and you know, take that risk. But yeah, I think like you said, an early safety car could be a real benefit to some of these drivers.
Yep, and we see a lot of guys pulling into the pits here and getting that down, feeling what it's like to come around on full fuel. As we see Beto's go a little bit wide there, and that's 100% expected after you come off of your qualifying laps where you are, you know, on almost no fuel coming across the line. Now you have a, you know, potential half to full tank. You're looking at a lot of weight being thrown around, and these cars are going to need more room to stop, more room to exit a turn, and it's going to take a little bit more time to get those tires up to heat. So, and we're coming up to our last 20 seconds here before we are gridding up. So, Eli, what do you think we're going to have here at the start of the race? You think it's going to get away clean, or are we going to see a little bit of an incident with this high-speed turn 1?
You know, I think we're going to see some pushing and shoving. I think we're going to see some elbows out, and I think we're going to see some really aggressive action going into turn 1 today. You know, the competition is tight. We're at the end of the Asian part of our series. We only have the last few European races left, and I mean, points count at this point. You know, our leader, like, you know, Archer is not going to give those points up. Certainly he could place a little bit lower for the following races and still retain the championship, but he needs to place. And, you know, I think that's going to bring out the competitiveness, especially in our leaders and, you know, the people that we've seen traditionally sitting on the pole.
Yep, and now we are gridding up here. We have 45 seconds at the most until we get going.
Well, I'm excited, Alex. Can't wait for this one.
Yep, we have Tilsley up there in front. You can see her getting ready. It looks like we only have one more car that needs to be gridded up before we go lights out here. We have 20 seconds left. And this is exciting, isn't it? Just watching these cars grid up, you just get so much excitement going.
Just waiting to see what happens in this turn 1 too. Yep, it is going to be a good one.
These drivers' hearts are pounding right now. We have lights up. Lights going live. We are lights out. Tilsley gets a good jump. Byram has a better jump though, and we have Lewis Archer back in the field trying to get around the outside. Byram trying to get around Tilsley. Cannot do it. Everybody staying clean right now. Going too wide for 3rd and 4th. Oh, wow, what a great jump by Gutnick. Up to 3rd already from 5th, and he is going to jump into that slipstream behind.
We did have Nick Marshall off the track back here, and he did make collision. Looks like he's able to get back out on the track.
Gutnick pushing up behind the 2 CUDA guys. Like we said, could be a great race for these guys to take a little bit of risk. Look at this train of cars.
Marshall is slow out on the track, though. I wonder if we're going to get a safety car from this. Those other drivers are going to catch him quick, and we know that the pit won't be open for a bit.
Yep. Ooh, some lockup from Chris Byram and Lauren Tilsley there. Gutnick gets right behind him, but has to maneuver a little bit to avoid a collision. Great battles going on everywhere on the track, but just not in a good position to pass quite yet.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna see a yellow here. We've got a slow car out on track.
Yep, there it is with Nick Marshall limping back to the pits. He's got a little bit of damage there. And he will just be an obstruction out on track. Just trying to get... yeah, Eric Beddoes too. You can see he's driving a little bit sideways. Can't come through our turns full speed. So these guys are just going to be a nuisance if we let it keep going. So we'll see what happened on this start here. We'll get another look at it. We'll see Nick Marshall go off track here. Oh, yeah, he made contact with one of the turning point guys, and his back end is going to be really messed up.
And there he is. Nick's off into the pit here during the safety car.
Yep. And we'll see Shegetman goes off track. It showed he went off, came back on. And it looks like Beddoes hits the brakes a little too much and smacks the wall too. Yeah, great start from these guys. Let's jump back to
it was surprising to not see more of them off in that first turn, and it was a really good first lap there for most of the drivers.
Yep, let's watch Gutnick here. He jumps, has a great jump on Byram. Gets the outside on Steve Grabowski and finds a way to make that stick. And Grabowski just doesn't have the speed. Ooh, they came together just slightly there, and that might have been what propelled Gutnick up to third instead of staying in fourth there. What a start there. We're going to get a cockpit view here. Great run right in between them.
Really was.
And they stay right side by side the whole time. Not giving a ton of room on the right, but enough for a car, and Grabowski's there. And, ooh, yeah, they just really close to touching. I think they might have just touched tires, but they both came out of it clean. Gutnick's up into third. Tilsley in first, Byram in second, like they started, but great start here.
Yeah, it was, it's like we said early on, everybody was elbows out on that one and just fighting to get position right off the line there. And, a number of these drivers just had really fantastic starts. Gutnick, Byram, to name a few.
Yep. Let's see Archer here, who's on the outside of Gutnick. And you just see Gutnick go flying by there. Archer's playing it safe. Like we said earlier, he's playing it safe today. He's championship leader. He doesn't need to take the risks. Gutnick, elbows out. He's jumping into that turn. He's throwing it in, trying to get, a big advantage right out of the get-go. The drivers know this is where you're going to get your biggest jump and your biggest chance to take a place from the guy in front of you is on that start. So Gutnick tried his best, got ahead, takes 2 places. And Tilsley just keeping it clean up front. Great job from her. And this is right here. Gutnick almost had a chance to overtake because the drivers in front here lock up a tiny bit. And Gutnick not on the gas right away, probably due to cold tires and the grip levels just not being there yet. But Gutnick doing a great job to keep up there in third. And that's about where we saw our yellow.
That's right. I mean, it's early in the race, too. It's not the time to really take those risks. They do have an entire race ahead of them. So just staying on the track, staying safe, keeping position at this point in time is probably the best strategy to employ. And I'm sure it's going through a lot of these drivers' heads right now.
Yep. Yeah, and these drivers are... this is going to be a long caution lap, each lap. Tilsley right alongside the pace car there. With a little bit of shenanigans going on, just waving at the officials inside the car there. Maybe she's trying to egg them on to drive the car a little bit faster.
Oh, probably right. Probably because, I mean, these pace cars certainly don't drive at the pace of these F2 cars, and that can cause some significant issues with tire heat. So these drivers are going to be doing everything they can to keep that heat in these tires so that when they come out of this safety car, they are ready to go and they have all the grip that they need to take charge and command those positions as they're currently sitting in.
Yep, and we see the lights are still on safety car, which means we are still on we still have one more lap to go at least. We'll see if they have all debris cleared and all of the cars back on track and going. And once that happens, then we will we will see the lights go out on the safety car, which means we have 1 lap to go. And what kind of strategy do you think Tilsley is going to have here, coming out of that chicane? And with the pace car going as slow as it does, she's going to have to hold up for a while and just hope that the pace car gets to the pits. But does she try and back up the field all the way up to the start line, or do you think she tries to just gun it out of that chicane?
Well, yeah, it'd be my guess that she's going to try to really pack those cars together, back them up, and then she's going to try to, get the surprise start on them and get off as fast as she can and try to gain some distance out of it. And we know Tilsley's got the pace. We've seen week after week, she's been out in front leading laps. Very competitive, very good driver, extremely skilled, and also very consistent. So she's got the skill to do it. Let's see if she can take it off the pace car and just keep her position.
Yep. Let's see some of the other cars that gained quite a few positions here. We'll jump to the beginning of the race and watch Daniel Thomas and Ivan Balkamp here. You see Ivan gained a position here. Ooh, we had a little bit of a false start there, but I don't think the car technically moved. He's off. He gets ahead of his car on the left, which is the other Lumos driver in Alex Chong. 2 Alexes driving today for Lumos, so we'll try and keep things sorted out on the stream. And he's right there next to Lewis Archer. And he concedes to Lewis Archer there at the beginning. Great first sector here. He stays in position, gets that 1 jump on Alex Chong. Just the sound of these cars, I think we say it each week, the sound of these cars is just awesome. They sound great when you're in the cockpit. They sound great when they're flying by on the track.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, they're part of that naturally aspirated, segment of race cars that we're quickly seeing disappear, as well as more and more race teams and more series move to turbo, supercharged, hybrid engines, even electric now.
Yep, yeah, you see the Formula E series with the electric cars and the hybrids now in real F1, where that real growly, high-pitched, just natural F1 sound is starting to kind of die out on us. But you still have the turbos of the F1 cars, and they are, they still sound great, but not a whole lot sounds as great as, these naturally aspirated cars. The Formula Renault 3.5 is from 2004. So that was before they really were implementing the hybrid effect and the electric effect and the power saving stuff. So it was really just how much power can I get out of this engine being a 3.5 liter. So it's really just a growly, high pitched sound.
That's right, and the Renault engine it powers a great number of race cars across multitudes of series. This is a manufacturer of engines that has a true race pedigree, and I think you can hear it in the sound of the engine. Like a Ferrari or any other extremely high performance engine manufacturer. These engines just have such a beautiful sound to them. It is music to the ears of a race driver.
Yep. Yeah, we have in iRacing the one that probably sounds better than this is the Williams V10 Toyota from 2008, I believe. That is a beautiful sounding car. We see it now. They replicate that in the fictional car, the IR01 Formula car, which was worked on from the beginning of COVID by the developers at iRacing to give what they thought would be the perfect Formula car. No DRS, naturally aspirated V10 engine, and big wide tires for that grip. A lot different than the cars we see out on track now. These being a little bit more old in comparison, and real life testing and safety is taken into consideration, the IR01 sounding probably just as good as these. Not the most realistic when it comes to how big their tires are and the grip levels that we see.
That's right. Now, the IR01 is a Dallara built car, is it not? Which is the same manufacturer for our F3 series.
Yep. Yeah, Dallara makes a lot of the chassis for these cars, these Formula cars. The Formula Renault is not. It's I believe it's a Renault chassis on these, but they are, built just a little bit different. The style of racing that you get out of the Dallara chassis is just slightly different than what you see out of other manufacturers.
Lights are out on the safety car now, which will mean we will have exactly 1 lap left, and then we'll be live again.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a really long safety lap. 5 minutes, 22 seconds for a safety car lap. And these drivers are just chomping at the bit, trying to get ready, trying to prepare themselves mentally. Gutnick, can he jump up, a couple more spaces? Can he make something happen? Those cars are getting awfully close for third and fourth.
They are getting antsy out there, and driver radios are busy. We're seeing driver messages roll in constantly throughout these safety laps. So they are just getting super antsy to get back on the throttle.
Yep, yeah, Grabowski right up behind Gutnick there, going down the straight. Not really necessary for him to be that close, as we see Archer's fairly close to Ivan Baukamp there, and Daniel Thomas. They're just bunching up for I guess bunching up's sake. These drivers are going to be trying to get their brakes warm too, so you might see some of these guys kind of do a accelerate and stop along with their side to side, just because those brakes need to be ready for turn one. When you're going into turn one, if they're cold, you're going to be sliding, your brakes are going to lock up, and then your tires are going to just eat away, especially on this track here. And so far, these drivers haven't really gotten a taste of the tire wear yet. Going around a half a lap, and now we're 4 laps in, about to be 5 when we go green here. This just extends out those tires for that one-stop strategy as opposed to the two-stop that we were talking about earlier, Eli.
That's right, and this might be just enough to get those tires to where they need to for a mid-race pit and to be just fine to the end of the race. So, ultimately nobody wants to see a safety car, but it might benefit everyone.
Yep, yeah, and we have a little bit of time here before we get to the front, so I'm going to do a quick shout-out to our AR drivers, but B, our sponsors. Butt Kicker is our sponsor for our league. We have Designs Ltd. as well. We are also sponsored by Major's Garage, so thank you to all these guys for helping out, putting in prizes, and really helping out the league to grow and to get these drivers, a little bit of earned merchandise and earned apparel here. So great to have these guys on board. It's just a dream come true to be able to see our drivers racing for more than just the reputation of saying I won the league, but they actually get some really neat prizes at the end of the season with the Butt Kicker Gamer 3 up for grabs for the top drivers, and a bunch of apparel for the top 3 teams in each division here.
That's right. They work so hard week after week, so it will be nice to see our drivers rewarded for all this hard work and just the wonderful racing season that we've had.
Yep, yeah, they give us a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun coming into these races each week. Us as announcers, we just get to watch and see, the carnage unfold each week. But, these drivers getting rewarded for putting on such a great show is just awesome to see. So we thank all of our sponsors for all their work and all that they put in. But we are about one more straight away from going green here. We have Lauren is still right up on that safety car. With Byram giving a little bit of room. Gutnick giving a little bit of room. And now we're on Tilsley. And you'll see her starting to back up the field a tiny bit, leaving a little bit more gap on that safety car.
And here they go. They're starting to warm their tires a little bit more aggressively.
And like I said, who knows? Maybe Tilsley doesn't get that jump. Maybe she just stays on the safety car until it pulls into the pits and lets them just sweat it out.
It's sure looking like that right now, Alex.
It's a very good possibility at this point as they come into the chicane. She is not given any room to that safety car as she starts to back up. Tiny bit. Yeah, it looks like she's going to wait. And let's see when she decides to take off here. Safety car is in. Car's bunching up a bit. She's making them wait.
She's off.
And she's off. There she goes. Right at the start line. She waited till the last possible moment. Byram fending off Gutnick there in third.
We have a good battle here between Grabowski and it would be Thomas.
Yep, Grabowski trying to hold off Daniel Thomas here. Byram trying to hold off. Ooh, Grabowski going off a tiny bit. Can Thomas take advantage of it going wide? Nope, he plays it a little safe. And is just holding on right now. Grabowski off a tiny bit again there. Let's see if Thomas can take advantage of these mistakes that Grabowski is putting up right now. Great start for these drivers. When we see
these turning point drivers are putting some real heat on Beauchamp now.
Yep. And we have Chong, who's, it seems like he might be backing up the field a tiny bit. Ooh, a mistake there from Chong, which backs up the field even more. These drivers are right there on top of each other. Cologne might be making a move here. Nope, can't pull off any move right now. They're going to wait until the straightaway, which is coming up just right now.
Cologne and Beauchamp just want to get by Chong. As soon as they can get by, they can start to catch up on that gap, but it is just getting larger and larger as they fight for these middle positions. We see
Shegetman going by. This is not a good position to try and pass. We saw this last year with Shanna and Ivan Beauchamp touching, and Shanna ended up going off and shattering his car into the wall. But Byram right up behind Tilsley. We're going to jump to the leader battle here. Ooh, Byram trying to make a move. Can't quite pull it off, but he is right there with Tilsley and will be pushing her to make a mistake.
Now, this is a skill Byram has. He will sit here and patiently just push and push and push and put the pressure on lap after lap.
Beddoes and Bowman get together, going off track. Looks like they're going to get back on the track and going okay. Grabowski right behind Gutnick now. Gutnick is falling off in comparison to the top two drivers here. I don't think he had any incidents. But you see him just not quite as fast as those leaders up there in first and second. And we have a big surprise in Archer. Archer is down in 10th place, and I believe he pit during the safety car. I'm not sure that he'll be able to make it to the end on the fuel that he's got. He definitely can make the tires. We've seen that before, but can he make it on fuel? We see a train of three right here. Gutnick, Grabowski, and Thomas.
Beddoes has gone off as well.
Ooh, and Grabowski throwing it on the inside. Makes the move stick, and Gutnick has a little bit better exit. Gutnick might be able to get back in front. Daniel Thomas looking to try and make that happen as well. Great battle for first and second and third as Grabowski is being passed by Gutnick currently. Gutnick swaps out. Goes a little wide, but he'll have that speed coming out of turn 2. Great battle here. Like I said, Daniel Thomas is just chomping at the bit, trying to, wait for his opportunity, where Grabowski and Gutnick just decide, hey, we're going to push it a little too far. Or, I'm going to defend a little too much from Gutnick, and it's going to be, a little bit of an incident, or a mess up, or a lockup, or, a running wide. It'll happen eventually. And Daniel Thomas looks like he's going to be there to scoop up the pieces when it does. As we see, Grabowski on the inside giving a tap to Gutnick. That's not very friendly driving, is it?
Sure isn't. We don't like to see that sort of thing, but sometimes it happens as part of racing. Of course, they're racing in close quarters.
Wow, almost a touch again. Grabowski just isn't giving the space. Daniel Thomas just sitting there, front row seat to the action going on right now. And we have the speed on the outside of Gutnick. He'll take it, but Grabowski right back there in the slipstream. Right behind him. Less than a tenth of a second. Let's see if he tries to throw it on the inside. This is a very dangerous spot to do this. Oh, they make it sick. Wow. The high downforces of these cars just allowed that to happen. Great exit from Gutnick here. Oh, as we see Byram off. Byram is off into the wall. We see Gutnick going wide now in second, and Gutnick is off. Bumped by Grabowski.
Do you think we're going to have a safety car on this one, Alex?
It all depends on what's going on the track. I don't think we're going to have one. Everybody seems to be moving fairly easily, but wow, what a collision there from Grabowski. Let's look back and see what happened with Byram too. Oh, Tilsley messed up. Oh, and then they collide. Oh no. We see Tilsley go off track, lock up, go wide, come back onto the track, and then accelerates, and I think her back end gets a little bit loose and just touches Chris Byram's wheel, which launches him off the track. Wow. We'll see a closer look here. Yeah, ooh, big net code there. Big net code. Chris was not anywhere near that tire, and it just threw him off the track.
Well, that is bad luck for Chris today.
And then, as we saw Grabowski and Gutnick coming into the turn here, Gutnick throws it wide, and also some net code from that one too. They did not touch there. Just some really bad luck from the iRacing servers for these drivers today. And Gutnick is right behind Shegetman, trying to make a move now. He's going to be fighting. He wants it bad. After being bumped in this same turn, he comes around the next lap and is right behind Shegetman. Tilsley out in first, Grabowski in second. Two teammates there. And then Daniel Thomas, as we were talking about earlier, just hasn't been having that luck. And things seem to be going his way as of right now. Great racing here. Some really aggressive moves and some aggressive bumps. But as we saw, it's not really a driver error. That's just the server for iRacing, just trying to calculate and guess what's going to happen next. We call it netcode. On the simulation, the cars don't actually touch, but the simulation thought that they would have, and it causes things like that to happen, especially when inches mean life or death in these cars. It's more prominent in these kinds of races. We see Gutnick making up some of that ground that he had lost. Trying to go around on the outside. Ooh, a little bit of grass there from him. But he's going to get a great exit on Schegetman. Gutnick pushing hard out of that turn, making up a couple hundredths of a second at a time. And Schegetman's going to, do a little bob and weave action, but I don't think that's going to help him out, as Gutnick is a seasoned karting expert and will be right behind him coming out of turn number 2. And Schegetman is feeling the heat. And we see Lewis Archer going fastest lap with a 1:45. And he is making his way up behind Bowman and Gutnick. Let's see if Archer can make that long play stick and go to the end of the race without, any sort of setbacks with his fueling that he had to have taken in that first pit stop. Ooh, and Gutnick sliding off the track, right in the middle of the track. Uh-oh. We have a little bit of trouble here. I think we are all good. No damage. Nope, but we do see the safety car come out for that incident. Car out in the middle of the track. And we'll see another safety car. This will bring the cars back together for another few laps under the safety car. That'll help Lewis Archer's journey through this race out. That'll get him a little bit more fuel life. And we had seen 4 laps from the safety car. We are seeing if we can't get a little bit shorter of a safety car this time. There is a way to do it in the iRacing settings, so we're not going around the track 4 laps. We can try and shorten it up only to 2 or 3 laps with some admin controls here. And we're starting to get back into format here. Everybody's lining up. And some of these drivers are glad that we had the safety car. Some are regretting that it got thrown, but that's part of racing, incidents happen on track. Cars beached, cars, stuck in the middle of the track with, a lot of traffic coming. We want these drivers to stay safe and no cars to be, thrown out of the race, essentially for another car being an obstruction. But let's take a look back at some of our big moves that we've seen. We'll see Chris Byram here getting thrown off the track for the fight for first. He potentially could have taken that lead right then and there, and he waits for other cars to go on by. And then right after that, we had Alex Gutnick crashing for the fight for second. Just gets into it with Grabowski just the tiniest bit. Keeps it off track. And that's the big thing that keeps a yellow or not, is he was off track, no damage. Gets going again. Chris Byram off track, does have damage, gets going again. But the biggest thing here was these cars get right back on the track and get running without damage and without being an obstruction to the rest of the drivers. When a car is in the middle of the track facing the wrong way and there's a bunch of drivers coming around a blind corner like we saw with Gutnick, that is definitely grounds for throwing a yellow. as we see our cars here all grouped up. These tires are going to be real cold after going about 6 laps on the track, just getting up to temp. We're back down to sub-zero temperatures on these tires. But our pole sitter, Lauren Tilsley, is still up there in first. Her teammate behind her, Stephen Grabowski, is, just got that slightly different livery. As we see our cars here, Daniel Thomas and Ivan Baukamp. So we're currently sitting 2 teammates in first and second, 2 teammates in third and fourth, and then it gets broken up there with Schegetman and Bowman not being teammates. But we definitely have the potential for teammates to catch back up to each other here. And we have Chong and Marshall, who are a lap down, it would seem. Marshall might be 2 laps down. But we will definitely get these guys. I think they get the wave around. Being at the back, they might not get the wave around. Normally it's only in the middle of the field that we see that, but we'll see. We're going to watch the safety car for the lights to either stay on or go out. Looks like our lights are on. See what happens here when they come around. We have Tilsley coming into the pits for her stop. 11 laps in. That means she's going to have to go 25 laps on these tires. And as we said before, Eli, we have a track that just eats up those tires. So what do we think? What do you think about this strategy?
I mean, I think it's going to benefit the people that are coming in right now. These tires probably would have lasted to around maybe 16 laps or so. So, yeah, being able to pit early and get some new tires is really going to benefit some folks.
Yep, as we see Tilsley come in, she is up front there. A lot of drivers that are staying out. And Tilsley is out. Grabowski is out. We have Daniel Thomas out. We have Lewis Archer now exiting the pits. Alex Chong exiting the pits. Chris Byram exiting the pits now. And Tilsley is still in the pits. Oh no. What has gone wrong here that she is still in the pits? Maybe she had some damage that she didn't quite account for. But Tilsley not going to be happy with where she's sitting. She's going to be at the back of the pack.
That's right. And it looks like the safety car has been reduced by 1 lap, so we have about 1 lap to go here, and then we should be lights out again.
Yep, yeah, we are currently lights out on the safety car, which means, yep, we will be green next time by. And our stewards will have informed our drivers just so they are up to date, so we should see some drivers that are expecting to go green this lap. In this safety car, we've said it before, I think these drivers would love to jump into that safety car themselves and try and drive it around the track just to get, these safety laps done quicker. We see in real life Formula 1, safety car goes much quicker. They're normally going at about 60 to 100 miles an hour at some points. But you won't see that out of our typical iRacing safety car. For road courses, they go about 37 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour. On oval courses, you see them going around 60 miles an hour, but ovals are typically a little bit shorter than the road courses that we race here. The road courses range anywhere from 1.5 miles to, on our bigger end, 5 miles. So we have some that are just really, really long-winded, and that really just don't get the job done as fast as we would hope. Uh-oh, we have a little bit of red here. It shows that Lauren Tilsley has crashed, but I'm not so sure that that has actually happened. Yep, shows there again, there, and there. So it looks like our system is malfunctioning when it comes to our crash or not crash.
That's right. She is out on track, and her car looks to be in one piece.
Yep, and it shows that same spot. That same spot must be registering that these cars are crashing for our recording software, but they are completely fine, no damage. Ivan Baukamp, what do you think he does for a race restart as we come down the final straight here?
Well, it'd be interesting to see him repeat what Tilsley did, but, you know, probably it'd be a good idea for him to back the field up and get a good go of it.
Yep, yeah, we see Ivan is a very aggressive driver, so you would almost think he would want to just pull away as much as he can, especially since he is gonna have to make another stop. I don't think he's taken a pit yet. And we'll pop our pit strategy up, and you can see the top three drivers, Baukamp, Bowman, and Gutnick, all have yet to take their stops. So they are trying to put as much of a gap in between themselves and the field as they can. And we have Beddoes and Cologne, who have taken their stop early due to some off tracks, but will that be able to get them through the rest of the race with their gasoline that they have inside of their tanks? We shall see. And Baukamp staying right behind the safety car, not letting it get away from him. So maybe he's trying to do the same thing that Tilsley did, and really give it a wait till the last second, then go. Yeah, it must be what he's doing, because he is right there. Safety car is ready to pull into the pits. When Ivan is ready to go. Rest of these drivers are waiting. Ivan is off right away as the safety car pulls into the pits. And I'm not so sure that we had the green before he got to the line. Yes, we do. We are racing. Hopefully Ivan did not get a black flag. But we are off and back to the races. Ivan has a great jump. Just pulling away from the rest of the field. As we see Beddoes right behind Gutnick. Bowman right behind Baukamp. And Baukamp, great jump, almost a second ahead of Bowman now. As we see Beddoes being chased down by Louis Cologne. And Beddoes had a couple rough goes on that turn. As he does, he gets a little too much curb. And we have Cologne just pushing right behind him. Cologne going to go wide, try and do the switcheroo on him, and he does. He's going to have a good run down this straight here. Not really a straight. It's a curve, but it's a long looping curve, so you can just flat out through this sector.
Bunting is off track.
Steve Bunting off track, looks like.
Damaged.
Yep, but we seem like we're fairly clean right now, and we have Cologne going by Beddoes. Cologne makes the move on the inside. He should be able to make it stick. And he is past Beddoes. Beddoes might have a good exit here. Ooh, and Cologne gets a good push. As we have Bowman pushing right up behind Baukamp.
Looks like we have Grabowski on track. That is a fairly injured car and is going to be a pretty big hazard. I bet we're going to see another yellow if he can't get into the pit.
Let's take a look at Grabowski. Take a look at his car here. And it looks like, yep, he is teleported to the pits, so we're safe on that end. As we see Bowman still trying to push up. Archer and Tilsley fighting midfield. A few of the CUDA Works drivers trying to fight off the pole sitter Lauren Tilsley. Only 0.3 of a second behind. Gutnick is by Bowman. And Bowman resets. Nope, he doesn't reset, but Bowman must have had a mishap there. Ooh, Bowman on track. Whew. Some close calls there going by. I think we're clean and good to keep racing. We got some great action going on between the Cuda Works guys, a Lumos driver, and one of the other Cuda sister teams as Tilsley gets pushed wide. Great racing right now. Great racing. And we typically see these drivers, Byram, Tilsley, and Archer, all up towards the front. But as of right now, they're fighting through the field to try and get up there. Baukamp, Gutnick, and Cologne. No, just Baukamp and Gutnick will have to pit sometime in the future here. But these Cuda Works driver gets into Tilsley. Chris Byram does exactly the same thing that Tilsley did to him, just a half a turn forward. Wow, Byram is off. Daniel Thomas behind him. Chong is a lapped car that is in between those drivers, but we might have some damage. Nope, that's just the darkness of that front of the car from Ben Bowman. But Archer took a big hit there. Let's take a look at that again. Coming down the straight, 3 cars involved. Tilsley going in. Netcode again, it looks like. Bumps Chris Byram. Gets a hold of Lewis Archer. Lewis takes the escape road. Lauren Tilsley takes the escape road. Gets back on track and gets going again, but she has damage for sure as she proceeds to go into turn 1. And I think she loses it here as well. Yep, she just locks it up and jumps to the pits.
That's right.
And as we see our leaders here, Ivan Baukamp and Alex Gutnick making a big push up behind Baukamp here, only 1.2 seconds behind him. And Cologne trying to make that push. Right now, Cologne is in the best spot of the field. He is in essentially what is first place, followed by Eric Beddoes, who is essentially in second. These guys pit early, but I think they should have enough gas to get them to the end of the race. Byram has hit 2 stops right now. He will definitely have enough fuel to get him to the end. But just such a crazy race right now. Ooh, Archer and Bowman going at it. Bowman trying to catch up to Archer. Archer right behind Daniel Thomas. And do you think there's any team chatter on the radio from the sister team in Daniel Thomas? Doesn't look like there's going to be, because Daniel Thomas pushes Lewis Archer way on the inside. Lewis is going to get a bunch of dust and a bunch of marbles kicked up. But he makes the pass work. Daniel Thomas trying to fend off his sister team in Lewis Archer. But Lewis Archer is on to Eric Beddoes right now. Eric is looking like he is he is not wanting to be passed, but he doesn't quite have the pace right now. Lewis is closing that gap really quickly. Lewis is hungry right now. You can just see it with how aggressive he is driving.
Up quickly.
Oh, Eric Beddoes. Whoo, really close. Just loses that back end and gets back on track and going. Lewis Archer, one less driver to have to worry about and try and pass. And Thomas is just following in the wake of Archer. And Bowman following in the wake of Thomas. They're just... That slipstream is going to be even stronger for Bowman with 2 cars in front of him cutting the wind. Yeah, Bowman right behind Thomas. We might see that Thomas has a little bit of damage here, but Bowman... Ooh, just a little tap from Bowman on the back of Thomas. Thomas goes a little off, and they kind of settle themselves back down, but you just saw the nose of Daniel Thomas, or the nose of Ben Bowman just touch the back of Thomas, and it just upset Daniel Thomas's car there. Some great racing here from these drivers today. Baukamp sitting currently 1.6 seconds ahead of Gutnick. And the big thing right now is not the interval, it is the gap. The gap right now to the leader for Lewis Archer is 17 seconds, 12 for Chris Byram, and 4 for Louis Cologne. So for Ivan Baukamp to make this strategy stick, he's need to get at least a 20-second to 25-second gap in order to facilitate that pit stop and to really make it to where he is going to be able to come out of the pits and be able to fight Louis Archer or Chris Byram. And right now, with the pace he's going, he's going to need more than the 20 laps that he has left in order to put that gap in between him and those drivers.
It's really exciting to see Thomas having such a good drive today. I mean, he's had a few little scrapes here and there, but you know, he's been pretty consistent and fast so far.
Yep, yeah, we see Thomas, who is sitting currently right now right behind Louis Archer, and we see Baukamp and Gutnick are going to have to come into the pits. And they are essentially going to, if they're still at the same gap as they are now, they're going to drop to around that 6th to 7th place range, which is right where Daniel Thomas and Ben Bowman are right now. And if they find a way to make that gap a little bit bigger, then that'll give them a little bit better of a chance, as we see Gutnick closing the gap here on Ivan Baukamp. Gutnick really pushing up, making that car touch every side of the track that he can, uses every bit of the track. Baukamp trying to make the car just as wide as he can, and a pretty good escape there for Alex Gutnick, as he has a little bit of a gap closing now. And is he setting up to try and get that pass done down the main straight, which is a big spot. He's been passing throughout the race for second. He had that little mishap there back around lap 9 that really just threw him off track, but it was still a great pass, and they were battling back and forth. Let's see if he can close that gap up a little bit here too.
He is sure working on it, Alex. Every turn, every straight, he is right on the driver in front of him.
Yep, and we see Baukamp in our battle box down on the right is losing that gap. Gutnick is closing it quite efficiently. And Baukamp is he's sweating right now. He's just trying to hang on to that first place and trying to put as much time in between himself and the other drivers as he can, but he really hasn't put a whole lot of a gap between himself and Cologne, or himself and Byram or Archer. I think the total gap has actually come down because he's just getting pressured by Gutnick right now.
Do you think we're seeing some of the old Lumos magic coming into play here? It's nice to see Kuda and Lumos battling again.
Yep, I think so, but once again, we're going to see Baukamp and Gutnick have to take their pit due to the fact that they didn't pit under that second safety car. And that gap just slowly diminishing for Gutnick. We're seeing the same thing with Bowman on Ben Thomas right now as well, but I think Gutnick is a little farther along in closing that gap. As we see right behind each other. 0.3 of a second separate them now, whereas a lap ago it was a little bit farther of a gap, and Gutnick's going to have a great run coming out of the corner.
Well, he sure did. He really caught up there.
Here we go, closing the gap for turn 1. Bowman doing the same on Daniel Thomas. I don't think Gutnick is going to be able to make it stick. We're going to jump to Bowman on Thomas. Bowman right now, pushing, pushing, pushing. Goes a little bit wide, trying to get that extra speed down the straightaway, which he does have. Hits a little bit of that dust. He will not have it. Ooh, real close. See if he can. Oh, and he bumps Thomas. Gonna have a little bit of wing damage. Being the rear of the car, Thomas should be okay. Bowman might have some damage to his front wing, though. It up. Gutnick gonna be able to try and pounce on this now.
Looking like that might have been another netcode issue with Bowman, and looks like his car is not damaged.
Wow, netcode being a real issue today. We normally don't see it this bad, but we have seen quite a few incidents, and we have Gutnick early on in the straight, able to get right up behind, and he's gonna try. Nope, he's gonna think better of it on this turn. And he's going to try it on the outside. Makes it stick. Gets a good jump out of the chicane. And I bet you he's able to make it stick on this one. Right there behind Ivan. Ivan on the infield in that dust and that debris. See if Gutnick can make it. Nope, he doesn't make it around the outside. Balkamp might have used the DRS to try and fend off Gutnick there. Ivan was in that dust and debris, and that is not fun to drive behind when you are right there. It is kicking up into your hands and up into your face, and it just makes for a hard drive for the driver behind.
I'll tell you what, though, Gutnick is just getting one good exit after another out of these turns and just catching.
As we jump on board with Alex Gutnick, we're going to watch him in the cockpit view for just a moment. And they're coming up to a lapped car here in Steve Bunting. You see some of that debris just collected on the mask here of Alex Gutnick. Right up behind Balkamp. Ooh, he makes that move. I think Gutnick is just naturally right now faster with that slipstream, and he's gonna make that move. Let's see if it sticks. Gutnick out in front.
He's got it.
Wow, what a move! But Balkamp, he's coming back. Oh, they're side by side. Gutnick with the good release out of the turn. Balkamp almost a second behind now. Balkamp into the pits to combat. Ooh, he might have gotten a little bit of a penalty there. He had to lock him up. Balkamp into the pits now. Figures this is the best time to try and get his tires done and his fuel back up. Wow, what a fight there.
It really was. I mean, that was back and forth. That we just see a lot of really good driving happening and a lot of great exits out of those turns by Gutnick, and it really paid off for him. Just allowed him to catch it every time and consistently gain on Balkamp.
Yep, and we see Gutnick is released. He is free to drive as fast and as clean as he wants. And what we're going to be watching is the gap. Right now, Cologne's still 4 seconds behind him. If there's a pit, you know, when Alex Gutnick does do his pit, Cologne's going to go by and be ahead by 15, 20 seconds. Byram will be ahead by about 10 seconds. Archer will be ahead by about 5 seconds. So he needs to make this time period right now when he is on low fuel, his tires are worn in, he needs to make this his best laps of the race. And without anybody fighting him now, he might be able to make that happen a little bit.
He sure might. Really, his whole goal here is to just gain as much time as he can on the field behind him. As we know, he's going to have to pit potentially.
Yep, 100%. He still has yet to do his initial pit stop, so being out in front is great, but you need to finish there, and without enough fuel, you're going to have to pit and get tires. That's part of the rules here, so he will be dropping back. If I had to guess, he'll be dropping back right in front of his real-life karting rival, I guess you could say, Daniel Thomas. Daniel and him both race up in Canada and have raced against each other many a time in real life. So he will be dropping back to Daniel Thomas, and that will be a fun one to watch as well as they battle it out later on in the race. But the gap is staying just about the same for Gutnick to Cologne, Byram, and Archer as it has been the last couple laps here. Ooh, and Baukamp passing Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas is off. Getting back on the track here. Safe, no damage. We continue racing. Thomas is kicking himself. Still in points, but not nearly as good as he would like, as Beddoes has gone by him. Daniel Thomas, that luck for today is has kind of gone away. He was running great, doing a really good job of keeping the speed up, keeping clean, and a couple mistakes later on in the race, that mental fatigue starts kicking in. We're about 2/3 of the way through. We're an hour in. We've had 2 safety cars. It gets grueling and it gets to be a long race. What do these drivers have to go through when these races just drag on like this?
Well, I mean, they're going to have to fight their way through what we call the red mist, right? And it's that focus on the lap, the focus on the next turn, the next straight, just going fast, and they need to pull themselves out of this a little bit and continue to be intellectual lap over lap to remain consistent. Pushing is great, and it'll get you the speed, it'll get you the places, but at this point in the race, they really do need to focus in on consistency, focus in on working through the mental fatigue that you just mentioned that they're going to be feeling, what we like to call the red mist. It's a real thing, and it does affect race drivers. Of course, in a race car on a track in the real world, you'd be facing the physical fatigue as well. Here, of course, our drivers are not sensing those G-forces and having the physical strain put on their bodies, but certainly that mental fatigue is wearing here. And with a race that has been multiple safety cars, lots of hard elbow-to-elbow racing, they're feeling it. They're feeling it at this point.
Yep, as we see Thomas in the pit lane, Eric Beddoes in the pit lane, both getting repairs, probably for their off tracks that they had near each other there. Thomas in the pit exit. But we will see we'll see Gutnick starting to come up on some of the drivers farther up the field that are back markers in Eric Beddoes, 44 seconds out, but being a fresh out of the pits release. Ooh, as we see Gutnick go into the pits. Good pit entry there, no lockup. Cologne goes by, currently takes first place. And this is the man to beat right now. Louis Cologne trying to fend off Chris Byram, 7 seconds back, and Louis Archer, who is about 11 seconds back from him.
So at this point, we've seen Byram and Louis make these types of gains in a race before, but the person that they are trying to catch is very, very fast as well.
Yeah, not just fast, but he is one of our most consistent drivers of the series. He does not make mistakes very often, and if he does, he normally can come back from them and still get into the top 5. And he's had 1 race win this season already. Let's see if he can't go out and get a second.
That's right. Like so many of our drivers, he's just a humble guy too. One of the nicest guys out there.
Yeah. He's never boasting to anybody about his driving ability. He is, like you said, one of the most humble guys. He's great to talk to in the paddock, and it is just really neat to see him out there right now in first. We know he's got the potential to get these wins, so we're rooting for you, Lewis. We're hoping that you can pull home one of these wins for the Turning Point team. And we see Byram is closing the gap a little bit, 6.7 seconds. So that's about 0.3 of a second for the lap. And we will bring up our visual of our battle box here. But also, I believe we have a visual of a lap time lap time history here.
So I am a bit jealous of the fans in the stands there today. I bet the snacks and souvenirs they're going to be getting would be fantastic.
Yep, being COVID, Japan is very shut down, and we can see it in the stands right now. There are 0 fans in the stands, but we still have some people walking around the paddock, some people walking around the track. Officials, obviously, as we see Byram gain 0.08 of a second, and then 0.07 of a second on Cologne there, slowly diminishing that gap one sector after another. Ooh, a full 10th on that one. We're gonna see a battle here at the end, because Archer is right behind Byram as well, and he's making up time just as much as Byram is here.
Well, that is going to be exciting because you have 3 extremely experienced and fantastically solid drivers that will be battling. So I'm looking forward to it, Alex, frankly.
Yep, and we have Gutnick and Baukamp once again battling. This time for 4th instead of 1st. But right now, Gutnick is he's losing out a little bit of time to Baukamp, 0.2 in the first sector. 0.08. He gained, lost another 100th, gained 2 100ths. It's looking like it's going to be these guys fighting for 4th, and then Cologne, Byram, and Archer fighting for 1st. And who knows if the top 3 get into some incident. We saw it last week, and we've seen it in weeks prior. The top guys get into each other, and we see the 3rd and 4th place guys just scoop up, a higher podium or get onto the podium. See Baukamp back off a little bit, getting back in that slipstream of Gutnick. Baukamp trying to make that gap just a little bit closer, but Gutnick being, full of fuel now on cold tires, he's doing a good job fending off. Once he gets those tires warmed up to where Ivan Baukamp's is, he should be able to try and pull away from him. That slipstream, though, very powerful. That is going to help Baukamp stay in within attacking distance, just like it did for Gutnick earlier. Ooh, and we have Chong off in front of these two, back on track, going okay, nice and clean. No safety cars there, and we have Gutnick really fending off Baukamp as he gets a better exit than Baukamp does, about 0.7 of a second. And we are watching that interval on the screen for Chris Byram up in the top left. He is getting closer and closer and closer to Cologne. Right now we are on Gutnick and Baukamp, but I sense in the next 10 laps, end of the race, the last couple laps, we're going to see Byram pushing the back of Cologne and Archer pushing the back of Byram. We're going to have a 3-way battle for this win, and it is going to be a nail-biter.
That's really fantastic to think about that happening here. We have Nicholas Marshall has got an extremely damaged car here. Is parking on the side of the track. Let's see if he's going to make it into the pit.
And as long as he keeps it clean and doesn't pose a threat to any of our front runners here, we should see a race continuation.
And there you go. He's in the pit.
Nice and safe, like we like to see. Courteous to the other drivers around him. Great job, Nicholas Marshall. And we see Gutnick fending off Baukamp lap after lap here. just as Baukamp had fended off Gutnick. Baukamp starting to make up some time. One and a half tenths in Sector 1. Lost a tenth or a hundredth in Sector 2, which we saw lap in and lap out. What we're seeing right now is, Baukamp went a little bit wide, but we're seeing the difference in setup right now. Down the straights, Baukamp has that slipstream. Down the middle sector, where he doesn't have the slipstream, Gutnick is able to not only keep the same pace, but he's able to get away from Baukamp a tiny bit there. And then down the back straights again, big looping turn here that leads into a long straightaway. Normally Baukamp is able to make up the gap, but he cannot, seeing as he is not in the slipstream. Baukamp is essentially on the same pace as what we are seeing from Gutnick, and Gutnick has that little bit of a gap, so that slipstream will not be able to pull him closer. Baukamp is starting to fall back very, very slightly. But right now,
we've seen consistently today too that Gutnick's exits have just been much cleaner, and he's really getting the jump out of the exit.
Yep, we see those exits meaning a lot during a race, especially when you have other drivers around you. When you have the jump on the driver and then you get into that driver's slipstream, it makes a big, big difference. So we see Cologne just doing everything he can to fend off Byram right now as he gains a little bit of time in Sector 3. And we are currently back to 5.2 seconds of a gap between Byram and Cologne. Cologne is holding on to this lead very, very strongly.
He really is. Lap over lap, we're just not seeing much change in that gap. It's been down at 5.1, it's been 5.3, but it's really not been below 5. So we're just not seeing a lot of gain, although Byram is clearly pushing, as is Lewis. So really exciting, and we could still see a battle at the end, but at this point, Cologne is holding on and doing a great job of it.
Yep, great job here by Cologne. A 145.2 for Cologne. We'll see what Byram gets on this lap. A 145.23 and a 145.3 from Archer. So Cologne not only holding on, he is pulling away a tiny bit. And it's just phenomenal racing from him. He's doing a great job. The only thing that I could see running into a problem is if we have... Uh-oh. We have a car out on track. We're looking okay, though. Is if we run into him running out of fuel. I know he pit really early, but is that a thing that is going to be affecting him later in the race? Is he going to run out of fuel? Is he running these laps just because he's got less fuel than everybody? Or, is he going to be able to make it? We have a couple cars on track, just letting the leaders by. Nick Marshall here should be letting Chris Byram by here. He's giving him a little bit of a tow, helping out. But you'd like to see Marshall get out of the way here as soon as possible. Byram's going to be streaking up behind him as he gets a really good exit, and this might help Byram. So we see Daniel Thomas is a lapped car. He gets a little bit of a tow from Byram, or from Marshall, a little bit of a tow from Thomas, but is it going to be enough to help him catch up here? He's only about a turn to 2 turns behind behind Lewis Cologne. And we see again Baukamp back in striking distance of Gutnick. We're going to keep an eye on that interval, watching for Cologne and Byram to get close enough. But right now, this is for 4th place. This is some big points here for the Lumos guys or the Cuda Evo guys.
That's right. Like I said earlier, it's just fantastic to see Lumos and Cuda going after it again. We saw this early on in the season, and it's great to see it emerging here on the track today.
Yeah, 2 big names in the IFL 2 league. The Lumos guys and the Cuda guys seem to always be fighting it out with the Turning Point team. Just some great racing. Slight rivalry, if you would call it that even. Everybody in this league wants to be the fastest, wants to be the best, wants to be, you know, the guy winning each week. And these drivers really put on a show while they're trying to achieve that. You see that gap, little bit extended there from Gutnick to Baukamp. We're going to jump back to our leaders here. Byram down to within 3.6 seconds, or 3.8 seconds. Lewis Archer is about the same gap behind. But Chris might be getting hung up a little bit because Daniel Thomas is right behind him. I know he's not going to be fending off Daniel Thomas, but he's still there. He's still in the mirrors. You still got to watch out for him. And if he gets into the slip of Chris Byram, then, you know, he's going to have a hard time not passing him as a lapped car here.
Now, this late in the race, they're going to have some tire wear happening too here. So if he gets in that slip in that dirty air, what's the effect going to be on his handling?
So if Thomas gets into the slip with fresher tires than Byram has, Daniel Thomas is going to be able to hop into another level of, turn it up and get by that car in front of me. But being a lapped car, he's going to have to get out of the way of Byram because he's just going to have that blue flag waving. But we have Byram here pulling a little bit away from Daniel Thomas, so that won't be too much of an issue. What will be an issue is when Lewis Archer tries to get around Daniel Thomas. Is there going to be a little bit of team over the radio, being sister teams? Hey, help Lewis out, help him, down the straight, get him that little bit extra. What are we going to hear? Oh, and Daniel Thomas, never mind, he goes off, so there will be no helping out his sister team.
Yeah, you would think there would have been team orders there if that had become a situation.
Wow, this gap just getting smaller and smaller here. Ivan Baukamp on Gutnick again. They are fighting all race long here. Ooh, Gutnick with a little bit better of an exit. Baukamp, though, in that slipstream, he is within 0.4 of a second at the beginning of the straight, so that should get him at least side by side with Gutnick going into the turn. And he lays off a tiny bit, thinks better of it. He's got 3 laps to make this happen now.
You looked in, though, he's got to be getting impatient. He's got to make this happen soon, or it's not going to happen for him.
Yep, and we're seeing the leaders. Lewis Archer closing in on Chris Byram for that second, third spot. And Chris Byram closing in on Louis Cologne. I think if Byram is holding up Lewis Archer and Lewis Archer has the speed to catch up to Cologne, is that a team order that we see? Is that a, let me by so I can go and get a chance for the win? Or do you think Byram and Archer fight it out?
I have to think Byram and Archer fight it out. They're old friends. They race together all the time, and I think they'd revel in the competition, honestly. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely think so. These drivers, even though they're teammates, they are, they say that your teammate is almost your biggest rival at the same time. Just because you see they're in the same car, they'll have the same setup, so they have all the same resources you do. So you're the only one that can be 100% compared to that driver in the same exact way. And right now, they're running very similar pace and running a great race, but I think Cologne's gonna be able to, as long as no screw-ups happen, I think Cologne hangs on to this one. He's just that consistent. So hopefully his tires and his fuel hold out. As Baukamp is, once again, going to make a push here. He's 3/10 this time at the beginning of the straight, so he should have that little bit extra room. And Alex makes a move on the inside to defend. Baukamp around the outside. Baukamp can't make it stick. That outside line just didn't work for him, but he is hungry. He is right behind him, pushing right up behind Gutnick here.
And now this is where DRS
Oh, no. Louis Cologne is in second now. What happened? Cologne went off track. And it looks like he just accelerated a little too much out of that turn. Caught a little bit of wall, some damage. Oh no. What a turn of events. He's still got Lewis Archer behind him. He can still get this podium, but with a little bit of damage like that, he's going to be struggling. As we see Gutnick trying to fend off Baukamp. This is going to be too much to watch here. We have Cologne right behind Byram, Lewis Archer right behind Cologne, and then we have for fourth Baukamp and Gutnick fighting it out.
Some really good battles out there on track. Some really good battles.
Gutnick on the outside. Let's see if he can get in to stick here. Yep, he has that extra speed. Let's see where he goes. He's staying on the inside. Baukamp's going to have to go around the outside. Gutnick going down on the inside. Ooh, lockups from both drivers as Gutnick gets around. Baukamp's going to have the slip, though. And he's only 2/10 back. He's going to be right there. Gutnick staying on the inside. He saw this work last time. Baukamp is not going to get the jump on him. Oh, and he makes it stick on the outside. Yes, he does. Gutnick is now back to fifth, but Gutnick still hungry. Cologne closing the gap on Byram now. Ooh, as these two drivers get together. Gutnick up in the air. Baukamp shoveled the other direction. Schegetman is coming up behind Baukamp now. Chong on the track. Now we jump to what is essentially our race leaders. And for the win here, we're going to be coming up to our last lap. Byram, 1.3 seconds ahead. Archer is 1.5 seconds behind Cologne. And Cologne is making a little bit of a run here. I'm not sure he's going to have enough time, but there is a lapped car in Daniel Thomas out on the track that Byram is going to have to get around, probably in turn one and in that S's sector. And this is going to be a big turn of events here. As we see Cologne making up some time. Within a second here, Daniel Thomas goes off track. Just gets out of the way. A 10th made up for Louis Cologne. He is using those DRS pushes if he has them. And there are quite a few spots that he can use them.
Yes, there are. It's a great track for DRS.
I mean, essentially, if you had a full 8 on this last lap, you can make up almost a half second to a second in just using a DRS push. In this middle sector right now, not looking like Louis Cologne's friend, probably because of that front wing damage. Ooh, Byram locks up, goes wide. Cologne fighting right behind him. Louis Archer right behind Cologne. Man, I wish we had 4 more laps. That would really make this battle just something epic.
Oh, I think you're right. I think they'd all catch each other up, and we'd have a really
three
really
wide.
Good three-way. That's right, 3 wide.
We'd have 3 wide going into the last chicane as we see Byram going down the last straight. Cologne closing the gap slightly. And Archer falling back slightly. So Cologne definitely has that DRS pushed. He's going to try and do what he can to try and get out and in front. It's not going to be enough as long as Byram doesn't... Oh, he locks up in the turn! Oh, no! Come on! Cologne, 0.3 of a second right behind him. He's not going to be able to make it happen. Whew, Byram
So close.
just getting away. Wow, 0.4 of a second is the final number. What a race there from Louis Cologne. Never giving up. Byram right there to take advantage of Cologne's little incident that he had. But what a race. 0.4 of a second separate first and second, and another 1.6 seconds separate Louis Archer, who was, just really racing and trying to run down Cologne.
And what a push right there at the end. I mean, even with a damaged car, Cologne was right on it, pushing hard right to the last second, making for an exciting finish for us today.
Yeah, great race here from these guys. Great show as we see the last few guys coming across. Baukamp comes across the line here, and we have Gutnick coming across the line in 5th. Gutnick must have had a little bit of damage. You can see his front right wing is just peeled up there off the pavement quite a bit. That's not going to help him with any sort of downforce. Nick Marshall coming across, a lap down. Cristiano Schegetman coming across. And Cristiano Schegetman, did I just see Schegetman take the fastest lap of the race?
It sure looked like it to me, Alex.
Schegetman took the fastest lap of the race. Wow, what an extra point turn of events there for Schegetman. Just running his own race, running really clean and fast. He's got low fuel at this point. Last lap of the race, it's like we see in F1. It's not going to change positions. Might as well push as hard as I can and get that fast lap. So, great race from all.
Oh, really? And now, would it surprise you today, Alex, to learn that Louis Cologne is the safest driver out there with the most consistent laps?
I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. We see it each week on the track, but on top of it, we see it in the stat book. The statistics of iRacing, when we look back on these races, they don't lie. And Louis Cologne is normally one of the safest drivers, if not the safest driver on track, week in and week out. We see the same thing with Matt Turner and Matt Stelplug in the F3 series. Those guys are just consistent and safe week in and week out. So let's switch on over to our interviews here and get these results of the race up on the screen for you here. Let's see if we can't get Louis Archer into the chat with us here. Having a couple difficulties. Trying to round these guys up for interviews. We have Chris Byram waiting for interviews, Louis Cologne waiting for interviews. Let's see if we can't get the man himself in 3rd place, Louis Archer here.
Well, that was an exciting race today, Alex. Good to see everybody out on track. And, we had a high number of drivers finish on the lead lap today, which hasn't been the case for many of our races recently. So that's exciting to see, and only a few retirements. Pretty nice. Did have a couple safety cars, but again, just some wonderful battles, a wonderful finish, really competitive racing again from the IFL.
Yep. And we, like you said, we see a big number of drivers that finish on that lead lap, which we don't see a whole lot just because these cars are so touchy and they're very, they're very fragile. The safety cars gave us a little bit more to fall back on when it comes to these guys being able to help themselves back onto the track, get their repairs, and get back onto the main lap. So that's a huge push for these drivers to keep clean. But we are going to, I think, just jump to Louis Cologne because we do not seem to see Louis Archer in our our broadcast waiting room. If we get him in there, we'll jump back to his third place spot. But we're gonna grab Cologne for now. Lewis, how are you feeling out after that race, man?
Oh man, that hurt, man.
Yep, it
I
was.
really needed that P1, man, but I dropped the ball coming out of that hairpin.
Yeah, it seemed like more like you dropped the hammer on the pedal there. You really tried to get going, and like halfway through that exit, the back end just came out. What were you thinking once that happened? What was in your mind to try and catch back up to Chris?
Oh man, the only thing that was in my head was how fast can I get this back on track? And then I seen him just run past me full speed. I'm like, oh my God, go, go, go. So once I got the car back on track, it was just a matter of just collecting myself and getting back to it. I mean, the tires were practically dead, but I mean, I did what I could.
Yep, yeah, we saw long runs from yourself, from Archer, and from Byram. All you guys had tires that had to have been struggling, but Yuso more than the others. They had probably about 5 to 6 laps of more life in their tires than you did.
Oh
And
yeah.
somehow you were still running just that same pace as what Chris Byram and Lewis Archer both were. Every so often you'd see that little bit of slip and that little bit of grip loss, but
Oh yeah.
overall it was phenomenal to see that you were able to keep up with those paces even with those white tires being worn in just that little bit more.
Oh yeah, they were complaining, but what Don Day used to tell me, I mean, I would complain to him all the time about my tires being dead, and then I'd start running my faster laps. So I don't know where I get that from, but I'm gonna go ahead and thank him for telling me something about that earlier today, because I had a good laugh about it, and I was like, you know what, my tires are dead, just keep pushing. They're probably not.
Yep, yeah, there's that threshold of you know that 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 speed that you can pull from the depths of you and just find a way to run fast and run a little bit cleaner and more consistent when you're in that heat of the moment. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
so congrats on the second place. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Oh yeah, I want to give a quick shout to Cristiano. I mean, he did a really good job stepping up this week, filling in for Don again. So I mean, I just want to thank him for continuously putting in a lot of hard work and effort learning this new car, and then Don also for giving me a lot of help with this team. So, other than that, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Thank you.
Well, congrats again on the second place. That's a big chunk of points there for the Turning Point guys. And
Yep.
we'll see you not next week because we have a week off, but we will see you the week after for another exciting race hopefully.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. You guys, take it easy. All right.
Yep. Good luck.
Congratulations, Lewis.
Oh yeah.
All right. Now we're gonna bring in our race winner, Chris Byram. We do not seem to have Lewis Archer in the paddock right now, but we have Chris Byram with us now. Chris,
How you doing?
what a race here, huh?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, what went off on it? Lucky to come back to pick up first. Wow, a bit of a gift at the end from Louis. I couldn't really. We were matching the same pace. I was trying so hard to catch, but had he not made that mistake, he would have definitely took the win.
Yep, he was just talking to us about his tire wear and how he was struggling with that, and then kind of found a second wind and some wise words from his normal teammate Don Day. Just push past it, and sometimes your fastest laps will come when you feel like your tires are the most worn. So he found something deep down inside to keep him on that pace. What were you trying to do to try and catch up to him
Just
there?
flat out, all the way, every way. I was really pushed. I was just every lap. Thing is, though, I had Lewis. I had to be mindful of Lewis behind me because I could notice that he was putting in faster laps, faster laps. Initially, it started like by 1/10, then he banged one in that was like 5 tenths quicker, and it was just. So I felt the pressure from behind. I just thought I've just got to start focus on Lewis, see if we can bring down the gap, and just go from there. But to be honest, I didn't expect him to make a mistake. I was going to be happy to sort of just settle for second and try and defend off Lewis if the attack came.
Yep, yeah, Archer was getting awfully close there at the end. And we were saying up in the booth, if we had a few more laps, Cologne was using his DRS pushes and had a little bit of damage. He was catching you, and then you had that little bit of a mishap going into the final chicane.
Just slightly outbrake myself.
Yeah, did your stomach drop out?
No, I knew I could make it tight at the end, so it wasn't. It was a little bit of a bum twitchy moment, but no, I was all right. It wasn't fully out of control.
Well, that's.
Actually, Chris, I had a question for you today there. Sorry, Alex, to interrupt you there. You know, we saw a lot of cars sliding all over the place out there. It looked a lot like ice at times. Could you tell us a little bit about what the track surface felt like, how the cars were handling? Were you suffering from that lack of grip at times too? Tell us what your experience was.
Not really. I mean, one thing I noticed towards the end was the car was understeering, so it was I had to be a bit more gentle turning in and getting on the throttle. But what I did notice is that in practice and qualifying, more so in practice, that I could, if I was using the DRS, I could have it open during R32, so that's fast left-hander before you then get to the final chicane before your main straight. And in the race, I started to try to do that, and I just noticed that as I was turning in, the rear was coming round, so I had to be extra careful going there. So the track did get a little bit greasier as time went on, but I suffered more from sort of understeer, especially through the first section in the S's, so it was just a case of just braking a little bit early, turning a bit sooner, and just being a bit more careful on the throttle.
Yep, and then the incident with Lauren Tilsley, that you had gone off track, gotten back on, we got going again, and then you guys were fighting. Yeah. You, Lauren Tilsley, and Lewis Archer all got into it there, going into that last chicane. What was going through your mind then? Because that is, one incident is you can recover from that, but two incidents that happened like that.
The first incident, she was locking up on the brakes for those laps. No, you know what I mean. It's easy to do in these cars, but going into that chicane when the first incident, she locked up, went off track, rejoined unsafely, got on the throttle, and I tried to go around the outside. I gave her plenty of space. I wasn't really anticipating her coming back on track the way she did. I thought she would have cut across, to be honest. And then she just got on the throttle, spun up on the curb, and then ended up pinging me off. So the real damaging bit there was I had to wait for the rest of the field to come through and then come in the pits. Luckily, there was the safety car, the really, really long safety car with 5-minute laps. So I was able to recover there, and then I knew tyre wear would be an issue, so the second time I pitted under the next safety car, I made sure I dumped a little bit more fuel in, probably too much. I had about 7 laps worth of fuel at the end, so the car was a little bit heavier probably compared to the other Louis and Lewis.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I'll take another fresh pair of tyres just to try and maximise my attack going for the rest of the race.
Yeah.
So then the second incident, it all sort of went after the Degners going up to that hairpin. I made a mistake or avoided a car. Lauren got the run. She went on the inside. I tried to squeeze a little bit going into there, but then acceleration out up through there. I got a bit of a better run. Tried to kick to the inside, but obviously the track turns to the right. Didn't touch, but came very close. She went a bit wide, touched the grass. Then she came on over the radio saying, "Oh, that's how it is." So then down into the chicane, I just think she just outbraked herself, to be honest. I tried to go defensive, and if you look at my telemetry, I'm braking, I'm turning right, and then she just goes straight through, ends up clipping my front wheel, sends her into Lewis, and there you go, ends up quitting the race.
Yep, yeah, we had
a bit disappointing, really, but you know what I mean. Both Lewis and I were able to recover from that, and that's the main thing, isn't it, really? So not a bad day, really, for the CUDA works.
The recovery is huge when you have an incident like that, for sure. And we had looked at it. We didn't slow it down and look too closely at it, but we had seen that a couple of our incidents today, a majority of them were due to netcode. So I think one of yours, at least, maybe both, they were close. You guys probably shouldn't have touched in reality, but the netcode was strong this race.
Yeah, well, it has been for a while, hasn't it? It just depends. It's mad because when I watch back the first incident, there's a fair bit of a gap between us, and it just pings me off. But then on running up to the second one, when we're going up from that hairpin through the right-hander, we're very, very close. You know what I mean? It's just mad how when netcode jumps in and out, isn't it? Really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's the way the game is. You just got to deal with it. So if it happens, it's tough luck in it. Just try and recover and crack on.
Yep, and you did recover. You cracked on, and you came out with the win. Congrats again, Chris. We're going to move on, and
win.
we're going to actually interview Lewis because he was a little late to the interview broadcast waiting room here, so we're going to grab him. But any shout-outs you want to give?
No worries. Yeah, just to Lewis himself, you know what I mean? He does good setups for the team. He does a lot for the rest of the CUDA people. Yourselves doing a fantastic job with the broadcast. And then just all our personal sponsors as well. So thanks very much. And thanks for the time you take to do it as well.
Yep. And
Thanks,
congrats again, Chris.
Cheers, nice one. Take care.
All right, and we're going to grab Lewis Archer, who finished third. We're a little out of sorts for our interviews and our order, but our third place, last podium grabber here is Lewis Archer. Lewis, how are you feeling after that race?
Oh, very, very tired. That was a very difficult, very challenging race. I mean, as regards to positions go, I really, really can't argue with another podium. I thought, again, it's all gone away from me. I had a bad start. Not massively. I don't mind giving a few places up on the first bit. You get a bad start. I don't get full of ego and start chasing it back. I did, it was what it was. I sort of accepted it straight away. Got stuck down into the racing, obviously into the safety car. Ivan, that little tag on the back end with Ivan, that's all right. Always fair in love and war. And that was quite a bit to come back from, and I made that. And then on my second charge back with a fresh car, I had a flying Lauren Tilsley up the side as well. So
Yep,
that
we
was
were just talking with your teammate Chris on that one. What was going through your mind during that? Because that was a fairly substantial amount of contact made through that whole incident. Were you concerned that you had some damage on you?
I mean, yeah, the first thing that goes through your head is just that immediate self-preservation. Oh my God, I've been had again in a very short amount of time. There's no point getting frustrated about it in the moment, because you just crack on and see what you can have out of your day. But no, with regards to actually seeing what the hell happened, I have no idea. I have to go back and look at the footage and all that. But no, I was quite far ahead. I know that much, and I'd actually DRS to cover those guys off as well. So I got a fantastic exit on that last. I'd done the move. I think they had an altercation or whatever, but I got past them, and I thought, this is it. I'll use my brain now, and just one DRS click, and I'll just try and eke out a couple of tenths right now, just to stop them from coming back right now, and then maybe they'll get involved with fighting. And obviously their fight happened straight away, and I hit the brakes so late I hit the brakes, and at the very point I went to turn in, all came past me, and it was very Senna-like. It's exactly what happened to Senna and Prost in the, isn't it? It was just an object up the inside that stopped me from being able to steer out, take to the under, the silly, never done that before. That was quite interesting. But,
yeah, definitely a little bit different of a entry than we're used to seeing into that turn. Ended up having to take the safety road out, but come back for a P3. After that second safety car, we saw a bunch of drivers stay out in Ivan Baukamp, Alex Gutnick. We saw Ben Bowman stay out, and they were trying to get away from the rest of the pack, but you guys were able to keep that gap from getting too far out ahead of you, which put you guys up into the battle for first, second, and third there right at the end. What was going through your head there at the end while Chris was, making the pass on Cologne, and you were closing the gap on Cologne as well? What was going through your head during that last 10 laps trying to close that gap?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it was all. I lost track, and I kind of turned my relative off for a little while, because I had no idea where I was. I pitted and all sorts of stuff, and I thought there's just so much drama. I'm just going to forget where I am and just put every ounce of focus I've got into the drive. And because I knew I had a fast car as well, that was so disappointing because I knew I had an absolute demon of a car. Had a monster of a car in qualifying, and I made one silly little mistake on a purple lap. That was so bad. So and it was right when the clock was at 0 as well. So that was, I dropped my own quali today, and so I had a fantastic car coming into the race, and I was just looking down at the fuel and things like that, and the green light just didn't last as long as I thought it was. It just caught me a little bit off guard. So again, all my own little mistakes, but you know, I had an absolute monster of a car, and it just didn't seem to spend much time in that race without a little bit of damage on it. But you can't, again, there's absolutely zero frustration. I've had a lot of good rounds, I've had a lot of decent races, and the amount of times I spend with a broken car trawling around with a couple of tenths missing off my lap time is so minimal, so I don't mind. But no, as the positions did come back to me, I turned my relative back on, and he says P6, P5, and a bit of pit stop action, go P4. I don't know how much more of this race is going to come to me. Started looking at the relative again. Right, where are we? How has it played out after another 20 laps of pushing like crazy? And I thought, well, Chris is into the podium. Brilliant. I don't know how the hell we both managed to do that. I'm happy with P4. And then we managed to I can't remember what happened, but we both ended up P2 and P3, but both on the podium. Really can't make a mistake now. And then I looked at Louis Cologne and I thought, well, he ain't that far ahead to be in a position to be thinking about he's got this race. We need to apply some serious pressure. And Chris was going flat out. I was doing everything I could to catch that man. And yeah, it was he made a couple of mistakes, and I was able to just keep that consistent mega pressure. But that was really, 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 really difficult to even gain any ground on him. And if I had have, I'd have been the one there to take that rather than him. Do you know what I mean? So he definitely got the biscuits today, and he was under a lot of pressure throughout that race. And it was a very sticky race, wasn't it? All sorts of bits and pieces going on.
Yep, yeah, we had a lot of incidents, people sliding off track, the track really just making it difficult. We were talking before the broadcast, or before the lights out, just how rough this track is on tires and how much it'll eat up those tires throughout the race and cause people to slip around and have a rough grasp on the handling here. And we saw that, but you know, you guys have recovered. I mean, I think everybody at one point had some sort of off track or incident throughout the entire field. You and your teammate Chris got together. Louis Cologne had a little kiss to the wall there, coming out of the hairpin in the middle sector that allowed Chris to go on by. Ivan and Alex Gutnick get together. Cristiano Schegemann, Alex Chong, all of them, you know, finishing great, but all had some sort of incident. This track just ate the drivers up today, I would say.
Yeah, it was just I mean, I just speaking from personally, I had a really twitchy car today. Like, it was just really nervous, very, very fast. Like I said before, it was a demon of a car, but there was no room for it wouldn't do any other lap other than the lap that it was set for. Like, if anything else happened, it became incredibly whoa, really didn't like that DRS as well today. Really didn't like that. So fell a little bit on eggshells, but still able to push, just not as on rails as it has felt. But Suzuka's like that. It's just that first sector energizes the tyres so much, and then you need those tyres again for Degner 1 and 2, and the amount of commitment you have to give into. Oh yeah, it's a really challenging track. So that's it for the Japanese tracks, isn't it? But
yep. Now we go on to our break, and then we go back to the European Tour. What are you and the team going to be focusing on for the final leg of the IFL Championship?
Yeah, more time on track. I should have practiced more this week. I spent a lot of time trying to help our F3 driver roster. Spent a lot of seat time in that car trying to understand more about its chassis and if there was theoretical paddocks and teams and things. I spent a lot of time over in their field. The first time I got in my car was today, so probably my own fault, really. I had to iron out all of the creases in my setup really quickly, and it was. I just felt from the time that I jumped in my car, I felt on the back foot. I felt on the back foot even when I was happy with my setups. It was really twitchy. I felt on the back foot quali, made that silly little mistake, cost myself pole, got bad stuff. Just tiny little things. So I am happy with a P3. So yeah, definitely.
Well, we will be looking forward to seeing you out on track in 2 weeks' time when we start hitting our European tour to finish up the IFL F2 Championship. Any shout-outs you want to give to anybody?
Again, just a fantastic drive to Chris today. That's his second win in the IFL. So that's it. I feel like the dam's burst now for him. He will be winning more and more, I feel. Great job by Louis Cologne as well. That was a mega drive. And they made that little mistake at the end, and I'm sure he'll be kicking himself because that arguably was his race to lose. We were applying a lot of pressure, and I think it definitely got to him. And always a shout out to the organisers, a shout out to the commentary team that are working on it today. But he's zonked, really zonked after that race.
Well, thanks, and we once again congratulate you on another podium, and we will be signing off here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to all of our sponsors. We have Butt Kicker, who gives us great merchandise and some prizes at the end of the season. Majors Garage and Designs Ltd. that are, all just great sponsors. They help us out in so many ways, on track, off track. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our drivers. As always, you guys put on a massive show here today. Made it a nail biter down to the end, as we see there. 4/10 separated our winner and our second place, and then only another 2 seconds off the winner is our third place. So great finish there. Some great fighting throughout the field. We thank you guys for putting on such a great show. Thank you to the admin team, the organizers, like Lewis had said. We are grateful for everybody that puts time in to make this all happen. So thank you to all of them. Eli, thank you for joining me today. Any other words you got for us here?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out to race with us here at Suzuka, and I would ask anybody that's really interested in the league to check us out on Facebook, check us out on Instagram, and definitely check us out on YouTube. We'll be streaming the rest of our races for the season, and we have an exciting group of races coming up in Europe when we catch up with you next time. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you guys. We will see you in 2 weeks.